It's quarter.
That's not it, Mr. Richards.
We're getting
Good.
money from that meeting.
On January 7th, 2013, adequate notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been furnished by inclusion thereof in the annual schedule of meetings for 2013, which has been posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, filed with the Borough Clerk, faxed to the Our Town, the records of community news in the county seat newspapers, and distributed to all persons, if any, requesting copies of same pursuant to said act. In case of an emergency or fire alarm, you must evacuate the building by using any of the exit doors in the room. They're immediately to my right, and the double doors at the rear of the room. Occupants must exit the building by using the staircase and not the elevator. This meeting is being recorded by both video and audio and may be rebroadcast.
Everyone, please rise for the flag salute. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Padovano.
Here.
Council members. Maroney is absent. Eisenberg.
Here.
Miglio is absent. Ballerini.
Here.
Fleischman.
Here.
Tabré.
Here.
Borough Attorney Ronald Dario is on his way. Borough Clerk Jean Pellegra here. Borough Administrator Roberta Stern.
Here.
Our attorney is here.
Ta-da.
All right. Word session here before we get to the engineer. The August 13th is our regularly scheduled meeting. That is a Tuesday, obviously, but it is also the special primary day in New Jersey. Therefore, we have to move off of that date in order to have our clerk and deputy clerk be available for our meeting and to not conflict with the election that day. I'm proposing that we move our move our meeting to the Wednesday, the 14th, at 6:30. 6? 6 work there? 6 work there? You're in the front, yeah? I believe Mr. Maroney texted me and said that date was good for him. I have not heard from Mr. Miglio. But we should be good to go if everybody's okay. Then the clerk should put out notice for the meeting on the day at 6 p.m. 14.
Is it all right then?
Okay. Was the final 6? 6.
6:14 at 6 p.m.
Okay. Mr. Poliniak.
Honorable Mayor and Council, our office had issued an engineer's report dated the 19th for tonight's meeting. I'll review it fairly quickly. I guess the first item within the list relates to the Economic Recovery Program, in particular the pump station project. This past Friday, the borough's conflict attorney forwarded a draft agreement to our office. We reviewed it that same day. And then Mr. Amoroso's office, the conflict attorney's office, forwarded the draft agreement over to the borough premises conflict attorney, Mr. Sokolowitz. So that is moving forward. It's under review by the borough premise at this time. We'll help the borough forward and expedite that process should there be any questions or comments by premise. Item 2 relates to Spring Valley Road. Our office tonight received the revised CFO certification. We'll be forwarding that to DOT tomorrow. Subsequent to that submission, the borough will receive the remaining 25% grant reimbursement, and the project will be closed out. The third item on the list relates to the Bergen County paving program, in particular the first step of the project, the ADA ramps. Our office has been informed that the ramp construction will begin next Monday, the 29th. Within the next few days, they will begin to spray paint some of the locations as it relates to sloping of ramps, ripping out those ramps, and then beginning to pour the new concrete locations. Subsequent to that occurring, Maywood Avenue would be milled and paved. The fourth item on the list relates to East Hunter. Again, the borough had received a grant for that project last year. Our office had submitted a proposal for consideration for a construction budget of $315,000, which would take it to the nearest cross street from Maywood Avenue. We feel that can be accomplished accordingly based upon that budget. The next item relates to the Bergen County Open Space Program. We understand the borough's grant consultants are preparing a grant package. We'd be glad to help them accordingly. One item that is of importance as it relates to the program, though, is that a public hearing needs to be scheduled and public notice needs to be supplied prior to the filing of that grant. So I would assume that at your August 13th meeting or the following week's meeting, that public hearing would occur. Item 6 relates to next year's DOT grant program, the 2014 program. That submission package is due at the end of September. We would just request potentially some direction by the end of August as it relates to what roadway you'd like to submit a grant for next year, whether it be the continuation of East Hunter or another roadway within the municipality.
On that DOT grant,
Sure.
can the streetscape proposal be?
Most definitely. In the letter that was issued by the DOT, specific funds will be allocated directly towards streetscape projects. So the borough, if they chose to file a grant accordingly, could do so. The seventh item on the list relates to engineers' estimates that we've prepared for capital projects within the borough. Most recently, on July 15th, we issued a series of mill and pave estimates for the side streets between Passaic and Maywood Avenue along in between those business areas. That would conclude our report. I'd be glad to answer any questions or comments.
Sure. I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to speak about the sump pump issue.
Yes, we did. We have.
What ideas, plans, studies, surveys, possibilities are we looking at?
I had taken a look at it, and actually it's occurring on both sides of the roadway if you look at it. I had initially visited the one house located on, I guess that's the southern side of Cinzari, but there is some water trickling out of the, I guess the curb cut across the street. There are two potential solutions. One would relate to the residents themselves, which would be potentially constructing an on-site stormwater infiltration basin, whether it be a pipe gallery with stone, whether it be a seepage pit, and it would actually, the sump pump would discharge into this, depending on the groundwater elevation. If the groundwater elevation was too high, this option wouldn't be feasible. And then it would percolate into the ground, would be one of the options. That is one of the options that actually the BCUA is also proposing as it relates to sump pumps as part of their program. The other would be a program or project that would need to have the construction of a pipe within the public right-of-way. And what would occur would be the lateral discharge into the roadway would be captured within the green belt, a clean-out would be constructed, and you would propose to construct a 4 to 6 inch pipe beneath the roadway pavement section and tie into the catch basin located at the corner of Briarcliff and Cinzari on the southern side. Based on our estimates, it was over 200 feet of pipe that would have to be constructed. Looking at it at about $75 a linear foot based on roadway restoration and the pipe, you'd be looking at a project that would be approximately $15,000 to $16,000 just for that one residence. Those would be the two options that I think the borough would need to consider to address this solution.
That would fix just the southerly side.
Correct. That would fix the southerly side. We would hope, and we would have to gather information as it relates to the utilities below grade, that potentially you could connect that leader on the opposite side across the street so that you wouldn't be going $16,000 on one side and then $16,000 on the other side, because it would be fairly expensive.
Does it pay to find out what the water source is? Where is this coming from? How can we do further testing? How do we...
You know, I've thought about it as it relates to, I know that leak tests have been performed and United Water stating that it isn't domestic water supply. Whether or not that's true or is the case, the issue that would arise is if you were to grab a sample of that water coming out of the lateral, it would be within the groundwater, picking up the minerals, the chlorine would be dissipating. If you performed a test on the groundwater, you actually, it could be United water, and then end up the test saying that it's groundwater because it's been in situ for that period of time. So I don't think it would be worthwhile for the borough to expend money to test it for that reason.
If I could, I think you had some water tested,
Yeah,
if I remember
right.
correctly. Maybe you could share that
Absolutely.
and how it was done and why with Greg to add to the picture of what he's doing.
Like, there's no way, to do test boring, where is this coming from? Is it an underground spring? Is it a stream under these houses?
The unfortunate thing is, I think the water level over there, from, again, my in-laws lived there for 60 years on that street, right next door to this property, and from what I've been told, there's an incredibly high water table over there, where digging in the backyard strike water, on certain properties there. I don't know whether that tested and confirmed. It looks more like the end solution would be the piping system, probably, but it's an expensive solution.
Yeah, and to answer Councilman Fleischman's question, definitely test pits could be performed to gather additional information as it relates to the groundwater elevation and whether it's a spring or not. I think it would be important to do that so that the borough would understand what's occurring. Either way, though, I think one of those two solutions would need to be proposed to address the concern on Cinzari.
Mr. Mayor, where is BCOA with the project?
I know that the BCOA, they have forwarded requests to the individual homeowners throughout the borough. Some of the residences have responded back and have granted permission for inspection into the individual residences, and I know they're ongoing at this point in time.
So are they waiting to hear back from everybody? Or
Correct. I mean,
so my point is, if this person said yes, would they just go there first, or they're going to wait?
No. I mean, they're going to people as they say yes. It
Correct.
is an ongoing process in that way.
So if these people have agreed to it, could they go there and perhaps maybe mitigate the problem without costing the borough
Well,
anything?
These particular people? I'm sorry, Councilman, do you mean the particular people we're talking about?
Yeah.
I think the program, its intention is to do so, but I know that the time frame that it would take would be the issue. I think you're in the study phase, and then you would move into the potential solution phase, and I think that's years away. That is not.
I think I just indicate that a lot.
So there's study phases now, but
Correct.
the solution stage is...
Yeah, I would assume it would take some time to gather the information and propose a solution.
After we have, cars sliding in and out.
Yeah, and sadly it would be.
At the very least, maybe we could use them for the study phase.
I mean, we had a
Find out what the
conversation.
problem is, maybe they could see
Oh.
what the problem is, and then
I-
cost percent.
I agree with respect to that. The only issue then that it's created is if the resident didn't sign the permission and permit the BCOA to enter the residence, you wouldn't be able to move forward with that type of inspection.
I mean, we had a conversation last Wednesday during the middle of that heat wave, and it was discharging that day. And it was so hot out that the water
Yeah.
actually wasn't even making it all the way
Yeah.
down to Briarcliff.
Yeah.
It was evaporating the time it got to Briarcliff, but it was still coming in.
Yeah, and I took a look at it before the meeting, and similarly, it was making it a little bit further down the road, but it wasn't reaching the catch basin. It was still evaporating today prior to getting to the catch basin.
Anybody else have any questions for the borough engineer?
Thank you.
Anybody have anything to add or on or off the agenda? Mr. Usher? Anything to add to the agenda tonight? Anything to close? Anything to add to the agenda, anything to close?
Questions about the bill list, please? One item, I guess there was a pool repair, the KGP Enterprise.
Wait. That was the new Lexon. We got rid of the old...
Or on the roof and the...
Yes.
and stuff.
Right.
Also on here, there's a bill payable to TD Bank Finance for the Ford Escape, the 2000 Ford Escape, 2008, I'm sorry, lease payment, $5,686.19. Now, I'm hoping that's payment 4 or 5 and not payment 6 or 7, which would make that very expensive Ford Escape.
I wasn't here when you made that deal.
So I'm not sure, does anybody know what lease payment that?
I don't.
Thanks, Jim.
Just while we're on the list, I noticed on the revised list, there's a BD Padavano $160 escrow for SWS Velocity 17.
It's from
Again,
probably
that is
2008.
From prior to January 1, 2012, I can assure you that no bills were incurred from BD Padavano past December 31st, 2011.
Final payment on that,
That's the final payment? Does it say what number it is?
no.
Okay, thank you.
Can I, if I could, Mayor, with regard to BD Padavano payments, we are catching up with past due payments from previous planning board applications from as far back as 2007, and we're almost finished cleaning up old bills like that.
So I had to receive it this morning.
Anything else?
That's it on the, thank you.
Anything on or off the agenda, Mr. Calhoun? No, Mr. Mayor, but we have an item to close. Okay. Anything on or off, Mr. Councilman? Anybody else? Anything on or off the agenda? You have one?
I'm sorry, I just wanted, as you mentioned, there is an amended bill list. It's different than what you received on Friday. And also there's paperwork that was in your mailboxes regarding the proposed awning on 136 West Pleasant, backup paperwork. Okay? That was it.
Just a closed session brief report, very brief.
All right. Well, it's 5 or 8 approximately.
Closed session now?
Closed session now before the 8:15, Mr. President?
Sure. Make the motion to go into close? Second.
Is this personnel, Mr. Personnel. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, going into close?
Be resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Maywood pursuant to provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Mayor and Council in closed session to discuss the following subject matters: personnel and contract negotiations. Be further resolved that precisely to determine at this time, the discussion conducted in such closed session can be disclosed to the public upon taking upon their action thereon, provided disclosure shall not violate the attorney-client privilege or constitute an undue invasion of privacy. And further resolved, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Maywood will return to open session after this meeting.
Okay, we're going.
Close that door.
Ready? On January 7th, 2013, adequate notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act has been furnished by inclusion thereof in the annual scheduled meetings for 2013, which has been posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, filed with the Borough Clerk, faxed to the Our Town, the Record, the Community News, and the Family Seat newspapers, and distributed to all persons if any requesting copies of the same pursuant to said act. In case of emergency or fire alarm, you must evacuate the building by using any of the exit doors in the room. They're immediately to my right, and the double doors at the rear of the room. Occupants must exit the building by using the staircase and not the elevator. This meeting is being recorded by both video and audio and may be rebroadcast.
Everyone, please stand for the invocation. Wrap it up.
As Americans, we're taught that there's supposed to be a thick wall of separation between religion and government. But that doesn't mean that faith has no role in the workings of public well-being. The specificity of religion, which lies with the individual, is different from the universality of faith, which goes hand in hand with community and those who lead it. Government requires the faith of the governed that it will work for the good of all. May the power that makes for all that is positive and peaceful cause these officials to work wisely and well this evening in service of our community.
Just take a roll call.
Mayor Padovano.
Here.
Council members, Neroni is absent. Eisenberg.
Here.
Baglio is absent. Ballerini. Here. Fleischman.
Here.
Fabre.
Here.
Borough Attorney Ronald Verio.
Here.
Borough Clerk Jean Colabra is here. Borough Administrator Roberta Stern.
Here.
Motion to suspend regular order of business for proclamation.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have a proclamation here supporting Drive Sober and Get Pulled Over Labor Day crackdown.
Or good.
Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over, yes. Whereas the community will support all law enforcement efforts to protect us from theft, burglary, assault, terrorism. And whereas yet many otherwise law-abiding citizens continue to view impaired driving merely as a traffic offense, but it is one of the most often committed crimes, randomly killing someone in America every 30 minutes and nearly 50 people a day. And whereas nationally impaired driving fatalities are on the rise, resulting in almost 18,000 people killed each year and about 250,000 people sustaining injuries on an annual basis. And whereas the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration launched in December 1999 the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over crackdown, which is a partnership of criminal justice and traffic safety partners in all 50 states that is committed to reducing death from impaired driving. And whereas the state of New Jersey will be participating in the nationwide Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over Labor Day crackdown from August 16, 2013 through September 2nd, 2013, in an effort to raise awareness and increase safety throughout a combination of enforcement and education. And now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Maywood, County of Bergen, New Jersey, that they declare its support for the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over Labor Day crackdown, both locally and nationally, from August 16, 2013 through September 2, 2013, and pledge to increase awareness of impaired driving while creating safer neighborhoods. Now, entertain a motion to go back into the regular order of business.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing on pending ordinances? None. Meeting is open to the public. Anybody from the public wishes to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rick DeVere, 18 Hamel Place. I noticed on the agenda you have an appointment for an additional part-time parking enforcement officer. And I believe the last meeting it was brought up as part of the comments as a, I guess for lack of a better term, a wish list item by the police department. I know it's already on here as an appointment. Is this, well, how many hours, for one thing, is this part-time person going to be working?
This actually is not an additional, this is going to be a replacement.
Replacement?
The existing parking enforcement officer is retiring in August, or resigning in August.
Oh, then that answers that question.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else from the public? Close to the public. Okay. Approval of minutes. We have the June 11, 2013 work session and closed session minutes, and the June 25, 2013 council meeting and closed session minutes. Anyone care to make a motion for adoption?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Eisenberg.
Yes.
Ballerini.
I will abstain from the June 11th meetings. I was absent, and yes to June 25th.
Fleischman.
Yes.
Fabre.
Yes.
Okay, presentation of bills and claims, request for public comment. On the resolution supplemental bill resolution we received tonight. Motion for approval.
Move for the approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Ballerini,
Yes.
Fleischman,
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
No resignations of today. Appointments. One appointment to Deanna Lopez as part-time parking enforcement officer, an hourly rate of $15 per hour effective August 1, 2013. As I mentioned earlier in the public, the current parking enforcement officer will be resigning during August, and this should give probably a 2-week overlap for training purposes.
Move for the appointment.
Second. Discussion there, just so you, for the council's purposes, the person being appointed tonight is an officer in good standing with the Special Police Department. I spoke with Captain Terzo, and she has his full support for this role.
Also, aren't we saving a little bit of money because this new person's paid a couple dollars an hour less than...
Correct.
the
The
person?
current officer is making $17 per
17.
hour. And the initial rate here from Ms. Lopez is proposed to be $15 an hour. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Ballerini,
Yes.
Fleischman,
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
We have one item for council approval from Ray Bauer, Principal of Memorial School, request to close off West Fairmount Avenue for recess, lunch, gym class, and other school activities, and the use of Edel Avenue fields and bordered off streets on the north side of West Fairmount Avenue as needed during the regular school day and for the spring carnival on May 16, 2014, with a rain date of May 22, 2014. And I presume this is for the 2013-14 school year as he's requesting this.
Move for approval?
Second.
Roll call.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Ballerini,
Yes.
Fleischman,
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
Resolutions by title.
Resolution 10813, resolution authorizing the execution and directing stall program application and participation agreement. Resolution 10913, resolution authorizing the redemption of a tax sale certificate for Block 38, Lot 23. Resolution 11013, a resolution authorizing the granting of a street encroachment license for 136 West Pleasant Avenue, Block 83, Lot 5, and the execution of an indemnity and hold harmless agreement therefore. Resolution 1113, tax board judgment for Block 70, Lot 13.
Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Ballerini,
Yes.
Fleischman,
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
No ordinances, committee reports. Councilman Eisenberg.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Got a whole bunch tonight.
All right.
Okay, just what's going on in town. There's a new store coming into the Bergen Mall, an Adidas store, in the strip of stores that we have there, I think next to Joseph A. Bank. Where Clyde's was, and formerly a barbecue, there's a Jamaican ribs restaurant going into both stores. A little bit older news from June, but I thought it was amusing. We caught a rooster in town, and the rooster was relocated to a sanctuary in
Happier place.
Yeah.
Your uncle's farmers.
And some of our residents do have chickens, but luckily there were no fertilizations. On software to automate the town, specifically with respect to the building department, although now possibly more departments. I had an hour-long conversation with Mitchell Humphrey today, and they were coming in the month of August to demo a newer version of a product that we partially use today. We have a much older version. But in speaking with their representative, they actually have two platforms. The platform that we were planning on looking at is a series of modules. There's one for building, there's one for zoning, and you pay per module for each module. I think we're looking at 3 or 4 of the modules. They have another product, which is a web-based product, that is in all-encompassing. It covers every department, most of the departments in the borough. You can use it for everything from building permits to dog licenses, to swimming pool, to just about everything. And there's a slightly higher acquisition cost for it. It's not much higher, it's about $8,000 more. And there's slightly higher maintenance for it, but it may automate things for us such that there's long-term savings. And it's, I'm not saying it's the be-all, end-all, and also I've been a proponent of checking out several vendors, and this is the first one, but it sounded very promising, and I had a very nice conversation with their sales.
Did they happen to give you any reference of any other municipalities using the web-based?
Yeah, she did. She gave me several. I'm trying the most. Gosh, I didn't write down the names. I was driving at the time. But I'm sure she'll tell us when she comes in, and she's going to discuss both products when she comes in. But basically, it would interface with our website. It would allow people to do all kinds of applications for every department, pretty much online, and have compatibility with, obviously the state programs and interface with the assessment program and whatnot. So it wasn't really what I expected when I called her, but I got off the call very, very happy about what she said they have available. I met with the postmaster regarding the assisted living. And apparently, the concept of changing addresses is very prevalent. It happens all the time when there's subdivisions and whatnot. And so the U.S. Postal Service actually has a process for that where they issue 2 addresses, and also known as address. And so you can have these 2 addresses for a number of years so that you can use up your stationery. You can, you don't have any big cost. You can phase it out over time. They told me that they would issue an address of 215 Hergesell for the assisted living, in addition to the 100 West Magnolia that they have now. So the first thing I did was punch into my GPS. I went there, and sure enough, it was dead on. So that was promising. I went down to the assisted living to speak with Trevor Dublin, their administrator, at Roberta's suggestion. He was out today. I left my card, and I told him I'd stop by tomorrow. So that's it on that, and I think that's everything, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Don Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for a couple points here. On the police department, just wanted to make the council aware that there's a cooperative effort going on between the police department and the superintendent regarding improving traffic at Memorial School. Consideration is being given both to traffic flow and to parking, and the reason I bring this up is because there's if there is a change in parking, one of the suggestions may be to increase the size of the parking lot over across from the school. Obviously something that needs to be explored, but stay tuned for more on that. Final reminder for everyone that the National Night Out Against Crime will be Tuesday, August 6th. Officer Mary Tuchek is the coordinator for Maywood's activities to be held at Memorial Park starting at 6 p.m. An update on the municipal court through the shared services agreement that we executed last year. The Maywood Municipal Court has now been operational in Paramus for 6 months. Not only has the borough realized the budgeted operational savings of the shared service, but I'm happy to report that revenues are ahead of budget as well. This is due both to the success of the e-ticketing program implemented last year, as well as a more efficient payment management program in Paramus Court. 2 more FYIs. The planning board will meet here Thursday, July 25th at 7:30, and the next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at Maywood Avenue School. That's it.
Mr. Fleischman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since Mr. Maroney is not here this evening, I'll give a brief little report about the swim team. I want to congratulate them on a terrific fast start to the season. And I'd like to just read a brief message from Coach Joe that he sent around to all his swimmers. First off, I'd like to congratulate everyone on winning the biggest dual meet of the season. Not only was it a win, it was a win by more than 100 points. It's the first time in a very long time that Maywood has beat Leonia by such a large margin. I could not be more proud of the tremendous effort put in by both the swimmers and the parents so far this season. The Maywood-Leonia rivalry goes back a very long time, and each one of you are now a part of Maywood history. But, as Coach Joe puts it, the season is far from over, so I just want to wish them continued success and a great job at the Leonia meet. It was fun to watch. Additionally, for the administrator, had received several complaints and calls on grass pickup day. Barrels are tossed rather than placed back on the curb or driveway. If we can address that with the supervisor. I know the DPW superintendent is away this week, but if we can set up a meeting with the supervisor to discuss and review some safety procedures in the next coming week or days would be wonderful. That's all I have right now, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Hackbarth Foundation is about to move forward with Phase 1 of the renovations to the main floor of the library, which will include, among other things, a new computer area, reconfigured front desk, a fireplace, and most importantly for our needs, our all-new high-efficient lighting, which is mostly what we replace, and that will save the borough some money there. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, Borough Attorney?
My report was pretty much the closed session issue.
Madam Clerk?
Well, today's the last day to register to vote prior to the special primary, and the Borough Clerk's office is open until 9 p.m. The special election, which will take place on the 13th, and I think that's all I have.
Mayor, the only things I have, I presented the vouchers today for the county for the replacement of our money for the ADA pool, the kiddie pool, and hopefully they'll process that soon enough and we'll get $13,000 back on the $15,009 that it cost us. Also turned in the voucher for half of the money for the ADA cooperative program on Maywood Avenue for the crosswalks. Part of the program that we signed up with the county is that they will give us 50% of the money up front, and then they'll reimburse us the other 50% when the job is over. They're supposed to start on the 29th, as Mr. Pliniak said. We had asked that the notice that goes to residents inform them that they will be starting at the south end of town, Fairmont, north end of town, heading south, so people can have an idea. It'll go to every home on Maywood Avenue, but they'll get some idea. The whole process should take about 3 weeks, and hopefully there's a tree that's creating some concern to us on the corner of Central and Maywood, and the county has agreed to take that down. I just had to send them a letter to confirm that today, and it's my understanding that they've agreed to take it down. That's all I have.
Just briefly, I did have a meeting with the police department and board superintendent of schools and Board of Ed representative regarding the parking and drop-off situation, as Ms. Bellerin alluded to, along Grant Avenue by Memorial School. One of the several ideas that seems to be an idea that we might be able to implement prior to the new school year would be to suspend the parking on the westerly side of Grant Avenue in the section between the Mendez intersection and the houses, encompassing all of the houses on Grant up to the Memorial Park. This would be on the side of the street that has no sidewalk right now. The big problem that occurs on a regular basis in the morning over there is that there's a bottleneck. There's a bottleneck that occurs because if you fit 3 cars across that street, you can't fit 4. So when there's 2 cars parked on either side, you have a real problem. So the initial thought, maybe in the short term, while we continue to explore all of the larger scale ideas that the Board of Ed and the superintendent and the police department are reviewing, which include adding more parking to that existing parking lot, and also also potentially changing some streets into one-ways or looking at feasibility of that, is I think we should move forward, and I will present to the council an ordinance for discussion and review at the next meeting about suspending parking on that westerly side between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 9, or 9:30, whether the school thinks is the appropriate times, in the morning and in the afternoon between 1:30 and maybe 3, Monday through Friday, to try to alleviate that bottleneck that occurs at that location and prevent people from dropping children on the side that does not have sidewalks and then jaywalking or walking along front lawns to get to the crosswalk. I think that'll be a good start, and we'll continue the discussions with the police department and the board of ed about how to handle that. It's obviously a major problem. And fortunately, we've been very lucky with the safety of our children through the good work of our police department. Mr. Borough was out there every morning, and our crossing guards, but it still needs to be addressed. With regard to ordinances, hopefully the bond ordinance will be ready for review and introduction with the council. Prior to the next meeting, hopefully our committee, Mrs. Fleischman, Mr. Bray, and the borough administrator will get together one more time to look at the proposals that we've discussed at the last meeting to try to get that moving so that we can get it adopted and get the appeal period to expire and move forward with the improvements that need to be done. That's all I have. Again, National Night Out, August 6th, Fall Festival's October 6th, and perhaps Mr. Ballerini, through his liaisonship, can talk to the police department and maybe Mr. Bray, through your fire department, to potentially dedicating a tree either in Memorial Park or Fetzer Park to Dr. Totaro for his years of service to his borough.
And Mayor, since his family has suggested that they want to do the bench, it would be nice to have the tree near the bench for shade or something like that. It would be a nice tie-in. Excuse me.
Just the bench?
I'm sorry, the family has...
Where would the bench be?
Well, it would be up to us.
I guess either park would probably get more use out of Memorial Park. But
Right. And then if we're doing a tree, and it would be nice if it's there to shade the bench, so to speak, perhaps. Excuse me.
Okay, that's all I had this evening. Nothing else on closed session. Additional